Welcome back, everyone, as we continue with the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. Now, as with all the evidence, whether it was the circumstantial evidence was used against Aaron during the course of the trial, or the corrupted evidence from America and witness statements, once we have drilled down into that evidence, we have always been able to continually show the faults, the coercion, corruption and collusion. And none is more of an example of this corruption, collusion, coercion and absolute total illegality by the An Garda Síochána, as the video most of you will have seen now of Christopher Morton giving his statement of lies against Aaron to detectives Bobby Ogle and Detective Pat Murray. So we're just going to have another little look at it because, again, as we study and investigate these footage and the evidence, we always, and there's always more holes and more evidence of criminality. So we're just going to have a quick look at the identification process and the times of the statement. So just to lay it out for you, give you some geography to this, there's allegedly a statement taken from Christopher Morton, and then there's an additional statement, which is the process of the identification with one sheet of paper. So obviously, the statement is taken, and the additional statement, you would imagine, is taken after the first statement. So the additional statement should have been taken after the first statement. But let's have a little look at the clips and delve down into the criminality of Bobby Ogle and Pat Murray. Let's have a look at the first little clip.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Okay, you can show off the recording device.
It is 7:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Concludes this interview, witness interview.
Thank you.
There we have it, a fairly simple little clip of 40 seconds. It shows the three criminals signing the false statement. But we have raised awareness there of the statement being taken and finishing at 7:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the gentleman you hear speaking there is Agent Matt Katzke, a man we have covered extensively in relation to the Homeland Security involvement in the framing of Aaron. And so to move on, so that's the statement. So we have to imagine now, well, you don't have to imagine, we know an additional statement would have to be taken after 7:12 p.m. But I'm going to go into the second clip now, and this is the beginning of the criminal identification process where Pat Murray and Bobby Ogle simply, it's in the video, simply show one sheet of paper with Aaron's picture on it to Christopher Morton. But it's the times we're interested in here. So let's have a listen as we move on to the additional statement and the additional evidence.
An additional statement starting at 7:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. Christopher, could you just look at what Detective Inspector Murray is showing you and tell me, well, what do you see?
It's Aaron Brady, right there.
And you're looking at a photograph, a copy of a photograph presented to you, and you recognise the person in that as Aaron Brady, as the same person that told you that he had shot the guard. Okay. So we're just going to put that down as an additional statement. Is that okay? So, copying from your first statement.
So there's proof positive that Katzke announces the additional statement at 7:04. So the additional statement comes before the initial statement, which makes absolutely no sense. So here is what happened in that room. More illegality. So there was a statement taken of Morton before 7:04, and then the identification process was done at 7:04. Ogle and Mary were unhappy with the initial statement that no one has ever seen, and they've run through Morton's statement again, because as you can see, some of the ramblings that Morton carried on with, because it's all lies he's telling, we have highlighted this and we're going to look at it now in a moment. Ogle and Mary were unhappy with, so he got a rerun of his false statement. That in itself is totally illegal. And we most certainly do not, and it was not in the first book of evidence, any statement before 7:04. That was never shown or never put in the book of evidence. So it highlights clearly that this is a totally illegal criminal witness statement on behalf of everyone, the liar and the criminal who's giving the statement, Christopher Morton, and the criminals, Mary and Ogle, who are being assisted by Homeland Security agent Matt Katzke. Everything they're doing in that room is totally illegal, and it is fabricating lies. Now, to highlight this again, that there was a narrative and that there was a very specific role for Morton and very specific words for Morton, just going to take out another little bit of a clip. We'll highlight that again, exactly why there is so much wrong with what these two men are doing here with Christopher Morton. So let's have a look at this little clip here now.
Who was accused? Or,
that Aaron Brady had been accused.
Aaron Brady was the name you mentioned, was it?
He hadn't mentioned to me. He told
No,
me
but from the stories
yes.
Aaron Brady was the name.
mentioned.
Just at this point, can I ask you, did you ever hear of that name before, or did you know that name? Or?
I only heard about it in conjunction with what had happened.
Prior to this? Yeah.
For odd stuff, yeah. Like I didn't know him personally.
You didn't
I
know
heard
yet?
some stuff about him, like criminality.
You had heard that name mentioned before?
In different circles.
In different circles.
Yeah. But I didn't know who he was personally.
What was the conversations about when you were
So I asked him who he was. He said Brady. I said Chris. And then I was a little tipsy, so I just asked him straight out, "You the lad that's on the run for shooting the guard?" He said, "Yeah, I shot him."
So there it is. It could not be any more blatant. It's there to be seen that there was no follow-up on Morton mentioning other criminality, other people and other places. Not one question of who, what, when or where. So the narrative was preordained. And obviously you've seen Mary's face and you've seen Mary shake his head at Ogle not to go there. It's very, very obvious. So again, just to confirm, so everyone is fully aware of our certainty that Morton is telling a tissue of lies, not that it's quite obvious from the video. But we'll just watch a little bit of Lorraine from the original video where we showed Morton's statement being taken by Mary and Ogle. So just have a quick look at Lorraine confirming that Aaron wasn't there in the tombstone on that night that Morton said he was.
So now you've watched the full 6-minute segment and viewed the sheer absurdity of Morton's testimony and story and narrative he was peddling. Watching this interview actually made my blood boil and made me feel physically sick. The fact that this man's lies defy basic logic and human behaviour Here's the kicker. Christopher Morton never had that interaction with Aaron Brady because Aaron Brady was not in the tombstone that night. I know this for a fact, and Christopher Morton may still not know, but for that weekend, I was in New York visiting Aaron. Me and Aaron were both invited to the day 2 of the wedding. I accepted and attended. Aaron declined and stayed at home with his housemate.
Again, complete clarity for anyone watching what Christopher Morton, Pat Murray and Bobby Ogle done on that room. And we can go back as far back as 2020, 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, when we brought this to the attention of the Irish public and we publicised it. We've done numerous videos on Morton and his first cousin Maguire, who told lies against Aaron. And Lorraine mentions there that Aaron stayed at home that night with one of the guys, a flatmate, a short-term flatmate at the time. And that young man, a young man from Belfast, he too gave an affidavit that Aaron was in the apartment that night, never left it, and he recalls Lorraine coming home. So there's an affidavit there. There's a number of the people who were at the wedding, the families of the people, family of the one of the wedding party, can confirm and have confirmed that Aaron Brady wasn't out on the Saturday night. The first time to see Aaron was on the Sunday morning. Morton claims this happened late on a Saturday night, Sunday morning. The first anyone seen of Aaron was on the Sunday morning in Moriarty's pub on McLean Avenue. So there's no ambiguity. It's there, it's clear, and it is cut and dried. Now, there's another caveat to this. Obviously, if there was any credence or any truth to this layer Christopher Morton story, the DPP, Pat Murray, Bobby Ogle must stand up. Must. It's imperative that if they believe one word out of that layer's mouth, if they're prepared to take a statement and stand over it and sign it, they've signed it. And by the way, look, there's it there. I'll just bring it up. That is the statement from the identification process with the one sheet of paper. This is in memory of Detective Garda Adrian Donoghue. This is the work of these men. It's absolutely disgusting. And again, we will repeat, Ogle, Murray, the DPP, An Garda Síochána, Christopher Morton himself. Christopher's fully aware of all these videos this last 4 years where we have called him out. Because he is a liar. And he will have to have his day in court to defend himself, both civilly and criminally. And we will make sure of that will happen. And again, why this is so important and why this is so vital is it shows clearly the modus operandi of Pat Murray, Bobby Ogle, Mark Phillips, and what they were willing to do. We've now seen Morton. I hope, and I'm sure most of you have seen the young man in Derry, Thomas O'Callaghan, who was deported because he wouldn't tell lies. That young man who was working well in Boston, had his own company, had men working for him, had 17 or 18 years trouble-free existence in Boston, had his own company, was heavily involved in the local GAA scene, very much involved, was contributing to society in Boston. And that young man was deported by Mark Phillips because he wouldn't tell lies. And here we have this scumbag here who was involved in criminality here in Northern Ireland and was thrown out of his own town. So there we have it. It's important we pick up on these vital little points because as we unveil this and we see this for the first time, we can delve down into it more and more each time. And our story gains more and more truth. And the Irish public cannot accept this as honourable or acceptable police work. It simply isn't. It's illegal, it's criminal. So please like, comment and share. Our videos have been very, very heavily censored at the moment, and we do need your help to get Aaron's story out there and share it widely, so people of influence and people who may well want to come forward. We do know now there's people close to these men who give statements who can make a difference. So please continue, like, comment and share, and we'll see you all again in the next video. Thank you.